Hi, my name is Lincoln, and this is my final presentation, and I chose to do positive and negative feedback loops. To understand what this is, you must really first understand what a feedback loop is defined as. And it's defined as a change to a system that triggers a certain response. Now, that's really important because our body is going to need these feedback loops to maintain homeostasis. You're going to have two feedback loops, positive feedback loops and negative feedback loops. Positive are going to encourage and amplify the change, and negative is exactly like as if it was in math, it's going to be taken away. So let's give some examples. We'll start with positive feedback loops. A really great example that everybody can relate to is if you received a wound or a cut or an injury, just any sort of injury. That wound is going to release chemicals. Those chemicals then signal platelet activation. The next step is going to be that the platelets release chemicals. Now this is where your feedback loop comes into play because it's going to loop back around to that last step of chemical signal platelet activation, and then platelets release chemicals. And it's going to continue to go in a loop until, if your body's doing its job properly, your wound clots. Now, another example that I think is a really good example, because I had a couple, my wife and I have had a couple of kids, and that is childbirth, the miracle of childbirth. As a child is pushed down on your cervix, your contractions are going to begin. Your body's going to start preparing to push a baby out. Now, as that contraction begins, that baby is pushed down further and puts more pressure on your cervix, and the female body is going to release oxytocin. Now, at this point, this is where the feedback loop starts in this. That's going to loop all the way back around to the contractions are going to begin again, and it's going to push that baby even further down on the cervix. And then you're going to have more pressure, oxytocin is released again, and that is going to happen over and over again until you finally have the baby comes out. Now, let's go to the flip side of that. That was positive, so that was examples of how it's amplified. Now let's go to negative feedback loops. And a really great, just a way of describing that everybody can pretty much relate to is temperature. So as your temperature increases, if you're running or it's hot outside or just whatever it is that causes your body temperature to rise, you're going to sweat, and you're also going to have vasodilation. Now, next step is going to be that your sweat evaporates and convection occurs. So as your sweat evaporates, it's going to cool the outside of your skin, and it's going to cause you internally to cool down because you're kind of covered in a layer of cooling and evaporating liquid. Now, after that occurs, then your temperature is going to begin to internally drop, or at least it should, unless you just have massive heat stroke or something like that. And you notice we didn't loop back because we're moving in the opposite direction, and it's kind of going to loop around, and it's going to start with an increase, and then you're going to come back to before that increase where it drops. So let's go to the flip side of that. Now, let's say something was messed up for some reason, and your temperature continued to drop. Well, then you're going to get goosebumps. And the whole point of goosebumps is your body is trying to shorten your surface area so there's less space for you to lose heat. So your body gets goosebumps and vasoconstriction, so that way you aren't losing any heat out of the blood and out of your skin. Now, as that happens, what your body should do is it should begin to increase in temperature because there's not as much going out. Now, I wanted to give you just another example of a positive feedback loop, just because I felt like whenever I was trying to think of an example, this is what I thought would be a good way to kind of see like a positive feedback loop. So let's say this is blood. And let's say this is, for purposes of, it's your platelets, and they're going to begin clotting your blood. As you add a little bit, this is going to begin to get thick. And it's still liquidy, but it's getting a little bit thicker. So then your body signals more. And it's going to get a little bit thicker until this water, it's not so much water anymore, it's beginning to clot and it's beginning to clump up. I thought that was just an interesting way that I was able to get a better understanding of this whole process. I don't know, hopefully that works for you guys. Your body is going to have more negative than positive feedback loops. And one last thing that I really want to drive home is that these are extremely important for maintaining homeostasis. So anytime something like goes wrong with these loops, you can get things like diabetes where you need outside medicine to continue to function properly. Thank you. My name is Lincoln, and thanks for watching this video.